We've been talking about Act 1, which is greeting, Act 2, which is opening, and Act 3, which is closing. And I think that if you follow the distinctions that I've outlined, if you role play what it is that I've asked you to do, if you've completed the exercises that we've asked you to actually engage in, and if you finally complete the exam that follows this video series, I think you'll then be ready to, in fact, be able to handle telephone calls in such a way where you're handling them professionally and with great effectiveness. Remember, the learning actually takes place now. That's actually when it happens. When you get on the phone and when you start practicing this. Don't wait. Don't leave it for 42 hours or 72 hours or next week or when the timing's just right. Take the information that I've shared with you so far, apply it as soon as you possibly can. If you can't wait for patients to do it with, then do it with a friend, do it with a relative. Just do it. Do 20 times, 30 times, 50 if you can. Then finally, when you're ready to receive phone calls, this thing will be a smooth snap. You really, really want to be able to actually address these patients with confidence, and you can only do so if you've got the system down. Now, I want to also give you a little bit of piece of advice to consider about what's going to happen in the future. I want you to think back about when you first learned how to ride a bike. Now, it might have been quite a while for some of you, so it might take a lot of imagination. But what you want to be doing here is you want to think back about the first time that you got on that bike. No doubt, you start off with a pretty small bike. It probably had stabilizers on the side, and you probably were quite wobbly and not entirely confident and capable to ride that bike on your own. You probably had to stay in pretty flat areas. You couldn't do too many turns and hills and obstacles, otherwise you'd fall. Now, over time, what would happen is you became more and more confident. Even though you might have fallen or you might have tripped up, you got back on that bike. Over time, you become more and more confident. Eventually, those stabilizers come off, and then you're able to actually get on that bike and continue without any assistance from anybody or any technique. Now, no doubt you fell down. This is what happens with everybody who's ever ridden a bike. You've fallen down. The difference, however, for those people who continue to ride bikes today is that they got back on that bike and they continued despite the fact that they were going to fall down and despite the fact that they were going to have troubles along the way. They picked themselves up, dusted themselves off, got back on the bike, and kept going. That's what I want you to do. I want you to expect the fact that you're going to fall down. I want you to expect the fact that things aren't going to go perfectly, because they won't. This is a learning process. You're going to be incompetent for a little while. That's natural. We have to expect that. I would almost suggest to you to consider giving yourself a mistake holiday. Give yourself a week, 2 weeks to make as many mistakes as you can. It's perfectly fine because that's how you learn. And you know what? Patients aren't going to notice. Just do as much as you can, as consistently as you can, and pretty soon this all would become very natural to you. I want you to think about almost the way that you drive to work every day, or you might hop on some public transportation without even thinking about it. There are loads of things that were perhaps new at first and took some time to practice to get right. Today, you're unconsciously competent at those things. You just do them. You might drive 30 miles from home to work without even thinking about where you've been. And that's because you've done it so many times and it's become routine. That's more or less where we want to go with this telephone process. We want it to be so ingrained that you can not only exercise it at will, you won't need any prompts to help you, but at the same time, you're able to be creative and yourself throughout the whole process so that you can really exercise that real thing that makes you you. And so that people can relate to you like a real human being. They like you, they trust you, and they buy from you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have. And good luck to you in the future. And of course, there's loads of resources that you can avail yourself of on this website so that you can continue to learn, practice, and excel. Thank you very much.